Good day, Minecraftians. Purple Mentat here, bringing you episode 21 of my Agrarian Skies Hardcore Quest Let's Play. This game pack by Jadedcat is available on the Feed the Beast launcher. First up today, I want to come over here, show you how the sewage quest has been progressing. We are up to 16% at the start of this video. Between videos, I made myself new flux-infused gear, haven't replaced my armor yet, and grabbed up the old enchantment table from inside of the Home Sweet Home, as I'm not going to be using it. Today, I have two things that I want to do. It's time to replace the smeltery as my primary ore processing system. It uses a lot of extra graphical and lighting processing just to keep this thing going because there's so much that appears there. And I'm wondering if it isn't a portion of some of my frame rate lag is coming from this thing. So I'm going to tear these down, and I've already got a system planned out to replace them, which you'll be seeing. Also today, I would like to get started on setting up some Applied Energistics Auto Crafting. There is a whole system involved in Applied Energistics that you can set the thing up to craft items for you. All you need to do is click a few buttons and say, yeah, I want this one, and you will get it delivered to you right in your interface. So, once I get this finished clearing out, I'll be right back to show you my new plans for the ore processing system. And I'm back, folks. Got everything cleared out in here, put some flooring back in, and upstairs started making some preparations. So the idea here is to get that last 10% bonus that I've been talking about way back when at the beginning of this series out of my ore processing, and also to stop using the smeltery, because while the smeltery is very, very efficient in terms of fuel spent, it's not very efficient in terms of graphical processing needed. So to do that, I'm going to be running everything through the pulverizers. And I've got at least one of each of the dust here. I've got 9 basic export buses set up there. And I can configure each one of these export buses to output one type of dust from the AE system. Everything's just going to run straight into the Applied Energistics system from now on. No need to worry about item ducts overflowing or anything. If something does overflow, it'll just end up going back into the pulverizers eventually. So there's lead, there's silver, here's nickel, or gold, and shiny, also known as platinum. And underneath each of those, I'm going to have a hopper. Underneath the hopper is going to be a pulverizer, which I'm going to set the hopper position to output into the pulverizer. Oops, accidentally picked up a little bit of something because I was standing too close to the output there. And underneath each one of these pulverizers is going to be a redstone furnace. And on the very bottom, oh, by the way, I tossed my pickaxe into the enchanting table, and I ended up with a heck of a pull, except it's got Fortune 3 instead of Silk Touch on it. So I'm probably going to need to strip all of those off to put Silk Touch on it. It's going to be an expensive prospect. Normally, Fortune would be a heck of a find, but Silk Touch is just more needed in this particular map. Oh, and don't worry, down here, I've got big plans for this little space. I'm gonna have this ore processing chamber up top here packed in nice and tight. So, along the bottom, I'm gonna be running my item impulse ducts. And I'm actually gonna need to clear out this line of floor so that I can set them up properly. Alright, so we get our redstone furnaces. Go. And I need to set those impulse ducts underneath to output. If I can get an angle on that last one. You know what? I can probably do it from underneath just as easy. With a bit of a... Oh, don't even need to hop. Excellent. And then each of these is going to be simply set to accept items from the top only and output everything to the bottom. And the pulverizer will also be set to except from the top and output everything to the bottom. Now most of these, for example, let me show you on iron. I need to cycle over to the ore dictionary portion, and then I can hit U on iron ore to show you the pulverizer recipe that this sand is linked to, which is 2 pulverized iron and a 10% chance of pulverized ferrous. By setting everything to output to the bottom, that extra bonus will also end up getting processed through the redstone furnace and smelted up into an ingot. That way I don't have anything to worry about later on. So let me finish getting these put together, and I will be right back once I have it all set up and I can show you the system while it's running. All right, here we have it, all set up and processing. Back behind, I ran power cables from where I already had pulverizers set up, and I just replaced the covered cables that was connecting up to this little pulverizer extruder setup with some basic export buses. Showed you those already. So, for example, here's aluminum. I got some aluminum in my inventory. It goes into there. Oh, you know what? That's a little odd. Aluminum ore dust, aluminum ore dust. Aluminum ore dust will not fit in the pulverizer. That's a bit of a shame. Alright, so I'm going to have to find an alternative use for that. You know, honestly though, I have so much aluminum at this point that I think that I'm just going to not care about it and probably set up the redstone furnace directly underneath it. Let me take a look. Yeah, I have 1,600 aluminum ingots at the moment, and even using them for pistons. How many do I need for the hoarding? Pushing it requires 100,000 pistons. So actually, getting the aluminum doubled would be useful. However, the only way to do so is going to be to run it through the smeltery, I believe. Yeah, I can smelt it, or that's it. This one is, I mean, it's ore dictionary with the aluminum ore, which claims it can go in the pulverizer to make aluminum dust, but it doesn't seem to be working. So, that is a shame. But I'm going to be getting lots and lots of iron out of this system already. So I'm just going to come over to, where was my aluminum? Right here. Aluminum ore dust. I'm going to take the pulverizer out of this one, and we'll just set the furnace up. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's just not that big a deal. And underneath goes another item duct, and get this configured. And because I like things to look clean, there. So, not perfect, unfortunately, but if I toss my aluminum ore dust in there, it at least cooks. So if I toss a whole bunch of ore dust back into the system, this will all go into the interface, which will put it into the AE system, which will then output it to the hoppers, and then output it into the pulverizers. We should see them all start lighting up right about now. Fancy, isn't it? And I don't think that this is going to have any problem keeping up with my production system, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn that back on now. I'll come back and check this towards the end of the episode. Make sure, especially the iron one, which I believe is number 5. Yes, make sure this one in particular is keeping up, because that's going to be what this system outputs the most of, if I am understanding the probabilities correctly. So, downstairs, I'm going to start setting up the Applied Energistics Automated Crafting System right after I cover these up. That can wait until off camera. So to make the automated crafting system, I need, first off, some crafting CPUs. There we are. And those just take one advanced processor, some Certus quartz, some glowstone, and some iron. And I'm going to want 4 of them. Ooh, I actually don't have any advanced processors in the system. I bet I have some waiting over here. Or did I use all of them? I used them all up. Time to make more processors. All right, I'm going to get the materials I need together, and I'll be right back. All right, back again with the materials that I need to get this build started. So, to make the crafting construct, this is a multi-block structure that I'm going to be building. I'm going to need a number of items. One thing that I'm going to need are heat vents, and these heat vents, they form the walls, effectively, of the construct, and they use iron ingots, iron bars, and ME cable. And I'm going to be building this construct 4x4. So to have this form all 6 walls, that's 4 per wall, I'm going to need 24 of these. I'm going to make myself some iron bars, a couple of stacks because I've got the iron. And I'm going to put together 24 of these heat vents. I'm probably going to run out of cable at some point during this. So I don't think I have an entire stack in there, but I could be wrong. Ah, there it goes. All right, so while I'm at it, make some more cable. And that's 24. Now I'm also going to need the containment walls. Now these ME assembler containment walls are made with gold, iron, and Certus quartz. And these form the border. I'll show you exactly what I mean with that in just a moment, but I'm going to need 32 of these. Then, to fill in the interior, I need a combination of crafting CPUs and pattern providers. Crafting CPUs speed up the crafting process. The more of these you have, the faster it runs. And these both use the ME advanced processors. So I'm going to get myself 6 of the crafting CPUs and 2 of the pattern providers. Hang on, I just derped that a bit. Let me grab more processors. Alright, back with my advanced processors so that I can make the pattern providers, which I'm typing in the wrong box again. So the pattern provider requires 2 crafting tables. Well, each one requires 1 crafting table, I'm making 2 of them. Requires conversion matrices, requires advanced processor, and requires storage cells. And I think I have most of that except the processors. There we go. And, oh, I need 1 more storage cell. No problem. It's a pretty simple recipe that we've seen repeatedly. So, I'm going to take this over here, back where that one of those smelters used to be. I'm actually going to install it, I think right in this corner will be good. And I'm going to need to dig out a little bit so that I can connect it up to the rest of the system. Because that wire is running right under there. Ah, yep, there it is. Okay. So to make the assembly chamber, you need to have the walls made of these containment walls. You need the heat vents on the inside of the walls. So a lot like that. And you need, whoops. It needs to connect to the system, and it will be a somewhat large power drain, not insurmountable at this stage of the game, though. Where did my covered cable go? There we are. And that'll hook up once I get the entire thing built. So the frame is built from these containment walls. The walls are built from the heat vents. And this inside is filled up with the crafting CPUs and the pattern providers. And I want 2 pattern providers and 6 crafting CPUs. And I've got the stuff that I can use to expand this later on. And once I place the last block, it assembles itself into the Applied Energistics assembly chamber and hooks up to the network. And now I can right-click on this, and I can see my 2 pattern providers. The ME molecular assembler chamber is ready for use. Pretty simple build, just large amount of resources, especially iron. Lots and lots of iron involved. Now, of course I don't actually have what I need on hand to put the floor back into place. That would make life far too simple. But let's come over here and let's show you the next step along the chain. So now that I've got the assembler chamber set up, I'm going to need some of these ME blank patterns, and those are glowstone, Certus, iron, no problem. And I'm going to make myself a bunch of them, 17 until I run out of Certus, no problem. I can always get more Certus quartz just by using the dust to Certus quartz recipe that was kindly added to Mindtweaker by Jadedcat. And I'm going to need a pattern encoder, which is going to take more, another crafting table, and another conversion matrix. Now the pattern encoder is not a powered block. It is not part of the ME network. You can just set it down right next to your partition editor if you like. This is basically like a crafting table. And the way this works, for example, if I were to grab myself some wood, so let's say I'm tired of creating my own chests all the time. I can draw the pattern into the pattern encoder using these wooden planks. It shows up right there, just like a normal crafting table, but if I try to take this, it just disappears. We'll show you why that functionality is there later. And I'd have to replace it. Now what I can do is I can hit encode, and I'll turn this from a blank pattern into an encoded pattern. And when I mouse over it, it shows it crafts one chest with 8 jungle wood planks. If I hold shift, that doesn't work here. But then I can take it back over here to my assembler chamber, and I can install it. And while I'm holding when it's installed, it will show me exactly what it creates. And when I mouse over it again, it shows me it crafts one chest with 8 jungle wood planks. Now, let's say I need to create some chests for whatever reason. I can come over to here. I can type in chest. Well, I've got 40 already, but if I pull those 40 out, there we go. I need to change this to show stored and craftable. It shows me that I can craft it. And if I click on it, it tells me how many do I want to craft it. Well, let's say I want to craft 10 more. I click the plus 10, I hit begin, and just as fast as that, I now have 10 more chests. So what I'm going to be using this for, actually, is to start creating the higher tier foods without needing to do it all manually. And especially with the liquids, that's going to be very, very useful because milk is a key ingredient in a lot of these. I'm also going to be using it to set up automated crafting of a number of commonly used items. For example, the ME cable, the buses, all of that sort of stuff. I can just tell it, oh, make me some of these, so I don't have to keep searching through NEI and shift clicking it in and all of that nonsense. The real star of that, in my opinion, is the fact that you can tell it to do multiple crafting steps to output one item. For example, let's say I want to make some torches. I need to craft sticks, and I need to use those sticks and charcoal to make the torch. Well, I can teach it how to craft the sticks, and then I can tell it to use the sticks with the charcoal, and then all I need to do is request the torches, and it'll output everything for me automatically. So let me get a couple more materials together and show you exactly how I'm planning to apply this new power to what I'm doing. Okay, so however this fluid crafting chamber works, it is very non-intuitive, and I haven't been able to find any proper documentation on it just yet. So I'm just going to unfortunately have to move on and create some other system, but I've got one in mind. So I've got this encoded pattern that is useless for me because I'm not going to keep buckets of water stocked in my ME system. So to reset that, all I have to do is hold shift and right click and it becomes a blank pattern again, and I can toss that back into the pattern encoder for future use. And some of that future use is going to be, for example, to make me more buckets. I want a bucket pattern. I want a pattern to create more ME cable, which is done with the plastic and the Fluix dust. I want a pattern to create me covered cable. And what else have I got available right now? Ooh, I want to be able to make flour with potatoes. There, that'll be a good start to, you know, get things going. And I can show you some of what this thing can do. in just a moment once I... here's one other thing. I can take my melon. One melon, one snowball, and one juicer. Creates me melon smoothies. And without the snowball, it creates melon juice, which I'm also going to be using a lot of. One downfall of setting it quite this far away from everything is I have to, run over here. But I like the way it looked in this room. I've had that nice big open space and nothing else to put there at the moment. And besides, this little area over here has been getting slowly gutted as I've been expanding. I really need to take a little bit of time and set up for, getting this looking good again. Everything's a bit of a mess and I don't like it. So now, if I want a smoothie or cable or anything like that, all I need to do is just type it in. Oh, smoothies. Well, I have 11. That's nice, but what if I want, 50 more? No problem. Just hit craft, and they start pouring in. And there we go. Now, where are the snowballs coming from those smoothies? Well, I've got a little snowball maker over here. I have some power going to the glacial precipitator and aqueous accumulator providing water to it. And it's just going to pour them into the barrel because that way I stop my entire system from getting flooded by snowballs. I've also got water being provided through an ME fluid storage bus, which you can make by upgrading a storage bus with a bucket and a piece of covered cable and some more iron. And that'll stop my system from getting flooded by water while still allowing me to provide it through the ME system. And I'm up to 4 kilo buckets of mob essence. I gotta start doing something with that sometime real soon. Alright. Now, let me get together the little setup that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna put it right over here. This is gonna be my new food processing plant. So that I can create these delighted meals at the push of a couple of buttons. Alright, luckily Pam's Harvest Craft includes the ability to turn water and milk into item usable forms that stack. So I'm going to have this ME fluid export bus set up to output water, and the one right next to it set to output milk. And I've got 2 cyclic assemblers underneath, yep, these are my best friend, set to output to the back. And in the back of both of them, I have a storage bus with Java better barrel with a storage bus on top of it. So if I tell the guy with milk over here to, I need to get my schematics out, don't I? And I'm not going to be using these anymore because I have a better, more advanced auto processing now. So if I tell him to turn milk into fresh milk, well, look at that. Now it's going to make more milk just as fast as it can pump in. And if I tell it to pump in at, say, a bucket a tick, now it's going to burn through power and milk and all of that very, very quickly until it fills that entire barrel up. And I can look over here and you can see I've already got, almost 500 fresh milk in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here with fresh water. And I'm going to set this guy to output a whole bunch. This will be, you are outputting to the back, aren't you? That's a little odd. Oh, there we go. Now it's working. It can't keep up with the water quite because this guy is going to drain out fairly regularly, fairly rapidly. And now I can use that fresh milk and fresh water to make some other items. And I can put that bucket of each back in. So if I want to make salt, it requires pot and water. So let me grab out some fresh water and some fresh milk. And I go back over to my pattern encoder and I tell it, for example, I want to use fresh milk and a pot, or no, I need the mixing bowl to make cream, don't I? because I believe I need the cream to make cheese. Let me actually refresh myself on this. So that's fries and salt. This I already have encoded. The cheeseburger, lettuce, tomato, cheese uses milk, soy milk. Okay, so that just uses milk, clay, salt. No problem. Clay. I meant pot. So milk, pot, and salt. But I don't have any salt yet because I need water and pot to make salt. And then I'm just going to combine those in the normal grid so that I can come back over here and I can tell it needs to use that pot and the fresh milk and salt to make the cheese. And I can also tell it that it needs to, oh, I need more fresh water before I do that though. And I'm going to need some flour. So I believe it's flour, water, salt in the mixing bowl. Whoops. Makes dough. Yes, it does. All right. Too much junk in the trunk again. Here, extra interfaces and cables and such can go away. Gotta go install those. Now, there's a problem along the way. To turn that dough into bread, I need to use a furnace. Luckily, there is a solution to that. The ME interface, which I just got rid of, whoops, can be used to use external machines to craft with. So if I grab one of those interfaces back, and I'm gonna need some of that dough. Make me one. I can come back over here. Actually, I'm going to need one more dough. That is just so cool. So I can come back over to the pattern encoder, clear it out, and I can tell it that one dough makes one bread. And normally it doesn't, but when we put it through a furnace, it does. So if I were to have a furnace, which I believe I have another one in my bag waiting just for this. Actually, I have two more in my bag. Fantastic. I can come back over here. I can open up whoops. Don't fall. Don't drop all of your good stuff in there either. There. And I can put that interface right down there, and I can tell it processing right there. It gets one dough becomes one bread. And let's see. Now all I need to do is put the redstone furnace down here, set you to take from the bottom, output to the side, and give it power with conduits, which I swear I had more of. Nope, all out of conduits. Do I have any waiting for me? Of course not. Hang on one moment. I'm sure I have an extra lying around on the ground over here. Yeah, you're not doing anything at the moment. And I'll get all of this cleaned up between episodes. This is just to show you what it can do. Now all I need to do is include an item duct from here leading back into the system. And if I come back over here and I type in bread, well, look at that, I can craft bread. So let's say I want 20 bread. I tell it to start crafting, and it doesn't pop up nearly as fast, but that's because it makes the dough, and then it crams all of that bread into this furnace and starts cooking all of that dough into this furnace and starts cooking it, which takes the time that a redstone furnace takes, outputs it through the item duct back into the interface. And if I come over here, bread is starting to come in. Now the next step along the way, if I want burgers, is to use that bread and make toast with it. And all I need to do for that is to set up another furnace recipe. So bread becomes toast. Now, if you end up with multiple crafts waiting to process, occasionally it can take quite a while to get through, and the whole system might hang up, and you're wondering, well, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? Well, you can take a look at what the system is currently doing with this nifty device right here, the ME crafting monitor. And that's made with just a processor, some cable, and some glass. Well, and iron, but iron's, you know, like air at this point. It's practically free. And just get that on the system. If I take a look, it's currently doing nothing. So if I go look at my bread, oh, it's all done. Well, I don't want just bread. I want toast. So I'm going to tell it to make me 30 toast. Now if I take a look at the crafting monitor, it tells me it's currently crafting 1 bread. And it's going to keep doing that. And every time it crafts the bread, it makes more toast. See, there we go. Now the next step along the way to delighted meal is to turn that bread into cheeseburgers. And into hamburgers, which requires skillet and raw beef. So raw beef, skillet, clear you out, toast, skillet, raw beef. Creates hamburger. I'm just going to get some of these items out of my inventory. Like the flour, I don't need. The toast, I don't need. The raw beef, I don't need. I'm done with the skillet. Don't need that fresh milk. Now, I'm also going to need French fries along the way. And that's just potato, bakeware, and salt, if you remember. So that's the French fries. I have the smoothies already. I need to teach it how to make cheese. I don't believe I've done that quite yet. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. It knows how to make cheese already. So let me grab 1 cheese, and let me go install these. Tell it to make me a burger, and then tell it to make me a cheeseburger. This is so much of a better way to make the food instead of needing to do it all manually every time. It just takes a whole lot of setup in the first place. So, hamburger. Make me 1. And I have 1 hamburger. And if I take a look, that toast is still processing. It didn't wait for me to finish processing the toast before it made the hamburger. It stuffed it into the furnace and is waiting to extract it while it makes me other things. So now all I need to do, 1 hamburger, 1 cheese, makes a cheeseburger. And I need to use some lettuce and some tomato with that cheeseburger. Because that makes the deluxe cheeseburger. And then I put all of those together. Deluxe cheeseburger plus fries plus smoothie equals delighted meal. So now that I've got it all programmed in, I just need to dump these recipes into the pattern encoder. And this is one of the most complicated multiple substep items I have ever seen in any mod. So this is purely just to show off the raw crafting power of this thing. Alright, so I want delighted meals. I have none. I'm going to tell it to craft me 1. I have 1 now. Well, that's fantastic. I'm going to tell it to craft me 54 more so that I have a full stack of feasts waiting for me. And there you have it, folks. Applied Energistics Auto Crafting. Very powerful and just really a fantastically delightful system. I am really, really impressed with what this mod can do. Now, in between episodes, I'm going to get this cleaned up a bit. I'm going to make things look a little nicer, and I'm going to install the rest of those farms over there. When I come back, I'm going to show you something that will allow me to supercharge these farms a bit and get them running a lot faster, producing the lettuce, tomato, and etc. that I need. I am also going to go check on my guys over here. Huh, I thought I told you to. I never turned off the... Yep, I never turned off the chronotyper. So all of those pigs that I moved, then all of those pigs that I bred got killed. Whoops. So, in between, I will also tell it to make me, let's say 12 more pigs. And there are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cows in there. So I want 6 more cows. Let me go get some wheat. You can probably already see that even with the system running, things are doing a lot better with the smelter and such torn down. That was really a massive frame rate hog, and it was because of the way it... I thought the system was running. Well, it is now. But yeah, even with that system running, it's still just a whole lot better on the frame rate than the smeltery was, just because it kept doing a lot of lighting calculations and a lot of redraws and everything, and it's really rough on the computer. So, there's my wheat. I need 12 of you. And I need to dump you in the breeder. And that's going to be all for today, folks. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and if you have, please like, comment, favorite. It really helps me out a lot. I don't believe there's going to be a video tomorrow. I'm actually currently at PAX helping out a company known as Foam Brain Games, who are running a couple of demo booths and such there. So I'll get production on these started again once I'm back, and maybe I'm recovered a little bit. So next episode should be going up on Monday at some point in time, but likely not until the afternoon. See you next time.